All right, so hey, it's JP here, and it looks like we got a patch for Fallout 76, 15 gigabytes worth, and I got the patch notes up here. Let's see what they have to say. Our latest patch for Fallout 76 brings additional performance and stability improvements and many bug fixes to the game. Read on for details about everything that's coming to the game with today's patch. So, patch versions. So, for Xbox, you're looking at version 1.0.1.8. PS4 is version 1.0.1.9. And for PC players like myself, it's PC version 1.0.1.14. This is, at least for PC, a 15 gigabyte patch. Now, this is on top of the 50 gigabyte patch that was released on launch day. So on launch day, the download for the game was 50 gigabytes. And now, in addition to that, there's another 15 gigabytes. So now a total of 65 gigabytes to play Fallout 76, 65 gigabytes of storage space. And all right, so general patch notes, general performance. Several issues have been addressed to resolve hitches during gameplay and other performance issues. Stability. The Fallout 76 game client and servers have received additional stability improvements, and for Xbox specifically, fixed an issue that could lead to instability on certain menus. Bug fixes, art and graphics. Excuse me. Ambient occlusion. Placed items no longer leave behind shadow outlines after being picked up. Well, that's a good thing. Camera. The camera now pans more smoothly when the player enters furniture. So I guess when you're sitting down on a chair or whatnot, whatever. It still bothers me that you can't access your Pip-Boy while you're sitting down on a chair. I think that's the stupidest thing ever, but whatever. Graphics. The cover of Tesla Science Magazine issue 9 no longer appears solid red on pickup and when inspected. Well, thank goodness for that. All right, enemies. General fixed an issue in which some enemies could chase the player further than intended. Loot. Ghouls and scorched officers now correctly drop nuke code pieces upon being killed by a player. Well, that's good because that's really the whole point of the game, right? Is to get the launch codes and launch the fucking nukes. All right, camp, workshops, and crafting. So let's see here. Let's see if we got that promised increase in stash size that they said they would be implementing. So there were two things they promised they would be implementing sooner than later. One was the increased stash size, and the second was the push to talk button. They also said they were working on doing text chat. Hopefully we'll get at least one of those features in this patch, but reading on, let's see. So for camp, workshops, and crafting, blueprints fixed an issue that could cause blueprints to break into smaller parts after logging out and back into Fallout 76. Plans. Paints applied to power armor during the Fallout 76 beta will now appear correctly on the item that were painted, and those paints can now correctly be applied to additional sets of power armor. Repair. Fixed an issue that could cause an item to return to a broken state after being repaired. Quests. Well, it doesn't look like we got increased stash size today. Well, unless it's later on down the line. We'll see. Bureau of Tourism. The Pickett's Fort token dispenser can now be repaired and players can no longer walk through it. Well, that's a good thing. PvP. All right, pacifist mode. Players with pacifist mode enabled will engage in PvP by contesting a workshop owned by another player will now correctly deal full damage to that player as long as they remain hostile. See, that was a major issue that a lot of people had been complaining about, is that if you wanted to contest a workshop and somebody owned the workshop and I think they were in pacifist mode. Players with pacifist mode enabled who engage in PvP by contesting a workshop. Yeah, so if you had pacifist modes on and you went and attack somebody who was holding a workshop and you wanted to try to challenge them for that workshop, basically the person who was, if they decided to engage you back, they would still not take full damage because you were one that technically, engaged in the PvP. And I guess they fixed it, but before, if you engage somebody in PvP, they wouldn't take full damage. It was only like 1 or 2% of the full damage until they shot you back. So basically, there was no way to contest a workshop. Because if somebody had a workshop and they didn't want to fight, they just had to throw pacifist mode on, and basically nobody could kill them. I mean, you could sit there and just, empty clips of ammo into them, and all they had to do is, shoot up with a stim pack every, few minutes to stay alive, and they never had to, really fight you to, keep their workshop. Well, it looks like that's been fixed. A respawning. Choosing the respawn option after dying during PvP combat will now correctly clear any active hostile status toward other players. All right. So I guess if you do engage in PvP and you die and you respawn, it goes back to, it basically resets, so the person can't just attack you and deal full damage right off the bat. You have to, accept the duel. You have to, acknowledge the slap, as it were, in order to engage in PvP again, which I guess can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. If you, are not a fan of the PvP system in this game, then it's not a good thing, because, it basically gives people an out from, ever engaging in PvP at all. Then again, it does prevent a lot of griefing that could potentially happen for players who, maybe want to try out PvP here and there, but don't want to just constantly be fighting other players. And I think the intention of Bethesda, too, is they want players to work together in, a common goal in this game, more so than they want them to fight each other. They want fighting each other to be a part of it, but not the main focus of it. And I get that, and I actually appreciate that aspect of Fallout 76. Do I think they could have done a better job of implementing the PvP system? Yes, but on the second hand, it's kind of hard to make PvP where, you're preventing griefing, but, without cutting down the PvP too much, because there's a lot of those, hardcore, the PUBG, CSGO, Fortnite, group out there, the players that just want, hardcore PvP, and then there's other players that just, don't want PvP at all, and where do you find that balance? It's tough, Anyways, so the respawning, you won't respawn with, and still be in that hostile mode. Seek Revenge. Cap rewards will now display correctly when choosing the Seek Revenge respawn option after being killed by another player. So I guess if somebody kills you, you can seek revenge, and if you go back and kill the person who killed you, there's a cap reward. So I guess, too, that's kind of incentivizing a little bit, for you to, dabble in PvP, So, like, hey, if you do, choose to try to dabble in PvP and go after this guy who just killed you, there's a little incentive to do it, but, you don't have to if you don't want to. Another Seek Revenge patch. When targeted by another player who is seeking revenge, the reward amount will now display the correct number of caps that he can be earned by killing that player. User interface languages. Korean fonts will now be displayed correctly in-game. All right. Hotkeys. The take photo hotkey will no longer be rebound and is now tied to the space bar on PC and the A button on controllers. Hotkeys. Fixed an issue that could cause this take snapshot button in photo mode to display an incorrect hotkey. Social. Fixed an issue that could cause players to disappear from each other's social menus if two players each send a friend invite to one another. Social. Fixed an issue that prevented only equipped player icons from displaying to other players in the social menu. All right, so it doesn't look like we got a whole lot. It looks like there's just a bunch of general stability stuff. And that was a lot of general stability stuff for it to be 15 gigabytes. Still no, it doesn't look like any increase in stash. No push to talk button, no chat, no text chat. So I guess we'll be waiting on that for a little bit longer, but at least maybe the game won't be crashing out quite as often. Because I was pissed yesterday. I was playing Fallout 76. I had taken a workshop. I spent maybe an hour building up the workshop, building up the defenses, putting up all of the, those machines that mine the junk and mine the ore. Had it all set up, had a nice, little camp going, and the game crashed on me. and then I log back in. And if you've been playing Fallout 76, you know that if you log out while you're in possession of a workshop, you basically give up that workshop, and somebody else can come along and take possession of it. So I had to log back in and then take over the workshop again and then start all over again. It just totally pissed me off. And that's the kind of thing that is definitely going to stop people from wanting to play this game if you're just constantly crashing out on the server. So hopefully that stability, the general stability issues, that was part of it, is just preventing those random crash outs, and it's happened to me on several occasions. Anyways, we will see. And this is JP playing Fallout. We're going to be playing some Fallout, checking out these new patches, seeing how they work out, and I'll be signing off.